Hey everyone, thank you for joining me on the podcast today. I am joined by James Keyes, or Jim Keyes. He is the former CEO of 7-Eleven and Blockbuster. Now, you're in for a real treat this episode. I am putting it up on a couple of podcasts. We don't have much overlap, but if I have a conversation with someone that I think different cohorts can benefit from, I'll put it up. So this is going on the Money podcast. It's going on Retire Right, and it's going on the This Is Business podcast. Jim's book, Education is Freedom. I purchased a copy. I went to a session yesterday where it's South by Southwest. He blew my mind with some of the stuff that he was talking about. So much wisdom. I'm really looking forward to chatting with Jim, and thank you so much for listening to the show today. If you find this episode useful, please share it with a friend or family member. It's how we get the word out there. And thank you so much for listening to the content that we produce. My name's Glen James. Let's talk with Jim Keyes. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11, or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. Jim, we're rolling, and I've done.
Rolling.
We're rolling. We won't put that in it,
Wow.
unless you want to. It's all good. We just got a bit prepared.
I'm going to give you a lot of B-roll.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be good B-roll. I've done an intro. I've talked about your book, but we will talk about that more.
Okay.
I run 3 podcasts. Our main one is called Money. The average listener is a 30-year-old, 100K income, young professional.
Money.
Yep. We run our second biggest podcast is called Retire Right.
Yeah.
And that's targeted over 55s
Yeah.
or 10 years out from retirement.
Yeah.
And then we've got another podcast called This Is Business. Now,
Oh, shit. Was I supposed to retire?
Yeah, that's right.
Years ago?
Well, one of my first questions is, and let's just start the episode.
Okay.
This will go up on 3 podcasts.
Yeah.
I've done an intro, so all my community know, because
right.
there's such a valuable conversation that we're going to have.
All right.
What does retirement mean to you?
It means nothing.
And how old are you at the moment? Is Wikipedia correct?
Man.
Don't answer that.
Yeah, you
Don't
can't
answer
put that out there.
No.
It's negative mojo out in the atmosphere, because all of a sudden, then everybody starts calling me sir.
Oh, yes.
You know?
We don't want that.
No.
So what does retirement mean? Like, so you're not retired, are you?
No, see, I have never understood the concept of retirement. Now, I guess for people who are trapped in a role, and they just really wake up every day and can't wait to not have to do that, then yeah, retirement, I guess, would be a good thing. But everything I have been running around the world talking about is about avoiding that situation in your life, because if you find that you can learn anything and you really embrace that from the time you're young, or really at any age, then you can find those things that will allow you to live and generate income for you and your family without having to feel like you have to retire. I think that's the ultimate goal, to be doing something that you love so much.
You don't need to escape from.
Why would you want to retire?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Education is Freedom. Who did you write this book for?
Originally, I wrote it for young people, because I was one of those kids that could have been trapped behind a machine in a factory.
Yeah.
As my dad did, and many of my siblings did. And that very easily could have been me. But the path for me was this idea that with knowledge, education is something that no one can take from you.
Yeah.
And the more you learn, the more you can do. It's a relatively simple formula. It's like, I think someone, may have been Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger or something, that said education is like Learning is like compound interest.
Yeah.
It just keeps growing
Yeah.
over time if you let it, if you nurture it. And so, yeah, that was my escape. So I wrote this book to encourage young people, especially, to learn, to say, I'm not one of these people that believes that certain people have some DNA that makes them smart and other people that they're not smart. I don't buy that. I think anyone has the power to learn.
Yeah.
Maybe we have different learning styles.
Okay, this is interesting. At age 50, you had a transition in your life.
Yeah.
You had spent, I think, 20 years at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And you were the CEO and you...
21 years.
Yeah.
But who's counting?
Yeah, not I. And then...
It's a lot of Slurpees.
That was... What was that period like? Because you'd been with the company for a while, you would let it, and then you moved after the merger or saw that through.
Yeah.
And what was your headspace? And this is a good chance to talk maybe about the Blockbuster story.
Yeah.
In Australia, an old house, when you flip houses, we call them a fixer-upper or a renovator's delight.
Oh, yeah.
What was in your head in 2011 saying, I'm going to do the old fixer-upper on Blockbuster?
2007.
Sorry. You were there from 7 till 11.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
And because there were skeletons in that closet once you got to your desk, right?
There's more than skeletons.
So what was that transition like? And,
Well, first of all, this is a really important question because people often spend many years of their life doing one thing, and that becomes their identity. So 7-Eleven was my identity.
You were the guy.
Yeah, I was the guy. And people would say, oh, that's Jim, 7-Eleven. And then when you leave, all of a sudden there's this natural, very human identity crisis. It's like, heaven forbid someone would ask me what I do. And what am I going to say?
Yeah.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I struggled with that. And I think we all go through that natural problem. And I call it a problem on purpose because it's a trap. Because 7-Eleven was not my identity.
Right.
But I made it my identity. I let other people determine it to be my identity. And the very first thing, which is the best thing I could have done, is to take some time off. And one of the things I did in my time off was to go study art. Yeah,
That's
I was
interesting.
Fortunate enough to be accepted into the Florence Academy of Art in Italy, which is a very, very serious art school. It's a 3-year program. You have to be an established artist to get in, but I think they needed some help with trying to build a new school and raise the money for it. And so they invited me to come in and experience it. And I took painting and sculpture and, doing plein air painting, overlooking the piazza, on the Piazza di Michelangelo, overlooking, the Ponte Vecchio and the Duomo, was just an amazing, amazing experience. But what it really did for me is to clear my head and to remind me that my identity was not 7-Eleven. Now, all of a sudden, I'm an artist and I have busloads of tourists coming up and putting coins in my ball cap that was on the ground. I know. And this is after a pretty good equity payday at 7-Eleven. So my art teacher thought that was pretty amusing that they'd be putting, a couple of euros in my ball cap on the ground. But I was now an artist, and I realized that my identity can be whatever I want it to be. All I have to do is learn something new, and now that can be my identity. Or you know what? Maybe my identity can be, he's a Renaissance man. He can do anything.
Yeah.
Because I've cracked the code on learning to learn.
So we did some art. That would have been some really good cognitive, gymnastics after being in the boardroom for so many years.
Yeah.
Then you decided to work on the ultimate fixer-upper. And, why did you take that role in that moment in time? Was that a personal career risk?
I didn't see it as a career risk. I saw, well, first of all, you have to back up. Very good run at 7-Eleven. I developed a lot of tools.
Yeah.
I recognized the power of technology. That was really what helped us transform 7-Eleven from a troubled company that was in bankruptcy to coming out of bankruptcy and having 10 years of improved sales and profits. And and great equity. It took our stock from $4 to 40, and so yeah, it was a good run. But I wanted to apply those tools. I was still relatively young, and I thought I can apply these tools somewhere else. What other company needs change, doesn't see that change equals opportunity, is threatened by the competition, doesn't yet have the power of technology? Blockbuster was still running Fortran and COBOL. That was developed in the 70s and carried over, and still in the year 2007 was still running these archaic programs. And they hadn't yet developed a streaming alternative. Now, they were competing with Netflix for DVDs by mail. So they had an ordering system and a little bit of an algorithm to recommend movies, but that was not technology from my perspective. So the very first thing I sought to do was to buy Blockbuster and to take it private.
Yeah.
So I was partnered with private equity companies and said, this is going to be a hard transformation in the glare of a public company. So let's take it private. And I had a lot of private equity support.
And just on that thing there, when people go, let's take a company private, is because we've got some more levers to pull without the scrutiny or the accountability. Well, we're always accountable, but you just got some more flexibility without scaring people.
Yeah. Well, the realities of a public company is you're being measured quarter by quarter by quarter. Yeah. Now, at 7-Eleven, I had to go to the street and say, look, I've got a 5-year turnaround here, and this is going to be hard. But stay with me. And it was tough because we had our equity value was bumping around in the $1, $2, $3 a share range for a long time. New York Stock Exchange was threatening to delist us. And I mean, we had a lot of issues, but we toughed it out. We were able to stay the course and have a long-term strategy. And 4 or 5 years following bankruptcy, it really started to turn around. And we started to not only have significant improvement in same-store sales, but then improvement in profits, et cetera, et cetera. But I realized what a difficult challenge that was to get the street to stay with you and get your board to stay with you, even though the stock price is really, in tough shape because you're spending more than you're making to rebuild the company and bring it back into shape. So at Blockbuster, I thought, well, we'll take it private. I've talked to private equity companies who this is what they do, and many of them were very supportive of both me and the Blockbuster story. But as I was out on a roadshow selling this idea, one of the investors picked up his phone and called Carl Icahn, which is Carl is a very famous and very aggressive activist investor, where he'll go into a company and shake it up. So he was already shaking Blockbuster pretty hard. I ended up in front of Carl, and he said, "Jim, you don't need to take it public. You don't need to take it private. You've run public companies. You can do this. We'll just leave it public. Come in, be CEO, and we'll turn this thing around." And he said, "Trust me, I'm the financial guy. You're an operator. And, you got this. You can do it." So I agreed. I took the role and came in as chairman and CEO of Blockbuster. My first week on the job, I discovered the company had busted a bank covenant.
Yeah, I read that last night. I was like, oh, skeleton much?
And it's like, oh, thanks, guys. Glad you told me that, which basically for your audience means you missed, several mortgage payments and the bank's about to foreclose. And I went to the banks and asked for an extension.
And this was, to be clear, in 2007, before the world changed.
Collapsed. Yes. So now, if I had a crystal ball, first I would have taken it private and said, "No, Carl, we're going to take this private." Crystal ball would have said, "We'll refinance all this debt now while money's cheap."
And get the hell out of there.
No, didn't do that. Second thing I would have done is I would have refinanced the debt. We had $1 billion. I could have refinanced it. I would have paid a couple, extra points for it. It would have been costly, but not as costly as it turned out to be 18 months later. So hindsight's 2020. I would have done those two things, but I didn't. And I jumped in. We did a lot of the right things to turn the company around. Very first thing I did is buy a streaming video company. Most people don't know
this is interesting. Jess in my team, I text this morning on our Slack and said, I'm interviewing Jim, former CEO of Blockbuster. And she goes, I used to work at Blockbuster. And so we all think, because I don't know how many seminars I've been to, and they've got like the Netflix killed Blockbuster, iPhone killed Kodak, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Did Netflix kill Blockbuster?
No. And this is the problem with perception.
Yes.
Perception is rampant, not just in that example. It's rampant everywhere. And if you look at, think about how many times have you pulled up a meme on social media and you believe it?
Yeah.
And you maybe get mad over it. And maybe you repost it to 100 other of your friends. And then someone says, hey, by the way, it's not even true.
Yeah.
But we're vulnerable to that. We're humans. We see things and we react. On the cover of my book, On Purpose, is a picture of what the astronauts call the overview effect. In other words, when they leave the planet, they look back on planet Earth and they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. What was I worrying about?
Well, yeah, these silly problems we have down there are trivial. We have this beautiful planet. I don't see borders. I don't see wars. I see a planet with humanity. We all have one thing in common. We're human. That perspective is very different than the perception you will get when you land and you turn on the news and you have a fire hose of anger and fear. And so that's the message in Blockbuster. The perception is false.
Yeah.
And what's missing, and so you might say, okay, so what's wrong? No big deal. So I was wrong about Blockbuster. But here's what's wrong about that perception. You miss a very valuable, rich business case study.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the richest case studies that business ever had. Because think about all of the elements in the Blockbuster story. Cash management, fundamental to every company.
Yeah.
How could we have refinanced that debt before it became a problem? Yes, we could have. I didn't. I kicked the can. I had perhaps too much confidence in the changes we were going to make that would have given us a better cost of capital. I should have done it.
Because in the background, from hearing your session yesterday, Blockbuster had a heap of infrastructure ready to go.
Oh yeah, had a
like the infrastructure and the bandwidth.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, this is the other myth that Blockbuster didn't keep up with technology.
Yeah.
So all the way back to 2000, when Netflix supposedly went to Blockbuster to please buy us, one of the reasons that Blockbuster didn't buy them is Blockbuster had a deal with a company called Enron.
Might have heard of it.
Yeah. Well, Enron had acquired Spectrum, which is bandwidth.
Yeah.
So a company that has more bandwidth than anybody else in the world, teaming up with a company that has access to video, was a beautiful marriage and was way ahead of anybody's time for streaming, because nobody was streaming in the year 2000. Netflix at the time was doing DVDs by mail and was irrelevant in the bigger picture of we're going to partner with the company that controls more bandwidth than anybody else. So of course Blockbuster turned down Netflix. Anyone would have done that.
Yeah.
And by the way, anyone that says, you know, you're the idiot that didn't buy Netflix, well, that was 7 years before I got there, and I turn to them and say, did you buy the stock for 79 cents a share? You know, genius.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Because hindsight's always so easy looking back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is.
So it was ultimately the GFC debt crunch, basically.
It was a combination of things, but that was number one. But there's another great case study learning in here. Ultimately, it wasn't even the debt crunch. We were able to refinance our debt. Our cash flow was pretty well constrained. We didn't have a lot of excess cash to now go and promote this fledgling streaming business. We didn't have enough cash to acquire with an exclusive. We had potential exclusivity on all the long tail stuff. I had a deal on my desk.
Yeah.
Actually, our board had a deal on the desk to acquire exclusively 60% of all the long tail content. Netflix would have had nothing literally to stream.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the cash flow to be able to accomplish that. So there were a whole host of issues. But still the company was fine. And I was out telling the street, we're not going to file for bankruptcy because we don't have to. Why? Because we had 90-day credit terms from our suppliers, which were primarily 6 studios. Now, here's what happened. Fear creeps in. Perception creeps in. Uncertainty creeps in. Will Blockbuster be able to pay its debts? Well, yeah. We have 90-day credit terms. I buy a movie for $15 from the studio, from Warner Brothers. I can rent it 20 times before I have to pay for it.
Yeah.
We don't have a cash flow crisis at all.
Yeah.
Unless Warner decides they're going to take us to cash terms.
Right.
Which they did.
Is that
Warner.
because of their own pressure?
Uncertainty, pressure, their pressure on their corporate earnings, their quarter-to-quarter earnings. What if we're the last man standing? What if we don't put them on cash terms, but Paramount does or Disney does, and that forces Blockbuster into bankruptcy, and we're the last man standing, and all of a sudden we have $10 million worth of receivable liability for Blockbuster. So it became like musical chairs. I think it was Paramount that pulled the plug first.
Right.
Took us from 90 days to cash. That caused a chain reaction. The other studios said, well, I don't want to be the last guy standing. So they all took us from 90-day credit terms to cash. That one action sucked $300+ million worth of cash flow out of our business overnight. Within 2 weeks, we had no choice but to file.
Wow. So in the wake of that, because you were in your prime earning capacity as a well-known executive, did that have an impact on you and your own personal perception in the corporate land?
No. Of course it does. I mean, I'm human.
Yeah.
So,
but this is the problem. The people who know you and knew the story know the real story.
Yeah.
The perception is this guy caused this to fail.
Oh, yeah. And I'd only been there a year and a half. So it wasn't like I caused the problem, but the perception was it's your watch. And, hey, you have to put your big boy pants on and accept the responsibility. I'm the CEO at the time. So, yeah, I got it. But, I had a couple of so bottom line is, yes, I was feeling a little vulnerable. I had family members, friends saying, get out of there. Just quit. You know? You didn't create this. Just why do you want to deal with this? Just quit. But I knew if I left the company, it would have liquidated immediately. And I felt the obligation, 19,000 employees. I've got all these investors. I've got to stay in the game and try my best. And it took actually Warren Buffett of all people at an event to sort of shame me into a realization that, it's not personal. This is business.
The Godfather, if you will.
Yeah. Because I was feeling the victim and whining a little bit about my plight and saying, I'm getting the crap beat out of me. I was just in the New York Post with a Pinocchio nose and a half-page picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's quite pretty.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about the book and the 3 C's. We'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au. And they'll point you in the right direction.
Dun, dun, dun.
Buy the book. This is a really freaking good book.
Okay, we're back, and we're already back, but we're back. We're back. Hey,
is my commercial going to stay in?
Yeah, no, we'll leave it in. Absolutely. Hey, you may know of a famous YouTuber, everyone, called Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
You did a collab with Mr.
Jimmy,
Beast.
yeah.
And you gave a heap of scholarships away.
I did.
And because this book is still new, only last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you, in the book, you talked about some of your learnings, and you mentioned it yesterday, the 3 C's. And I want you to take this anywhere you want, but I'm thinking there's people listening who might be in their early 30s who, I don't know what to do when I grow up. There could be people who are 55 who have just taken a voluntary redundancy, still in their peak earning potential.
Yeah.
And maybe we're in an environment, I'm in my 4th career. It's this change thing is happening. There is change. It's scary.
Yeah.
There's fear.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's in a crisis with their own self or their own career?
I would share with them what I call my gift, and that's my gift to your audience. I've been all over the world sharing the idea that this really is a gift, and it's something I wish someone had given me when I was really young. I had to wake up one day and realize that this is what helped me to become successful. It is this gift that allowed me to weather the storms at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was in bankruptcy. 1991, we had to pull it out of a ditch. And Blockbuster, that challenge, I have this gift, and my gift that I'm sharing, I captured in the book, is the gift of learning. But it's not just go to school or go to business school or learn accounting. No. All of those are important skills to have, but I call these meta skills. Dealing with change, that's number 1. Think about it. All commerce begins and ends with change.
Yeah.
Think about it. Everything that we do for business, something changes, somebody responds to it, and they're compensated for it. The root of every commercial transaction, change. Yet humans hate change.
Yeah.
Too often, we say, oh, yeah, I love change. Bring it on. And then when something changes, we hunker down and fear kicks in.
And we resist it.
Yeah, and we reverse it and we resist it. And so it's critically important to be able to recognize that change equals opportunity. Ironically, the acronym CEO.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it does. The root of all opportunity is change. And if you are negative about it, if you're a victim about it, if you're have your head down, if you're blaming other people, you're going to miss the opportunity. And someone else is going to see it and seize upon it.
Yeah.
So change. Number 2, confidence. Because even if you say, okay, I recognize that change, I recognize its opportunity, but I'm scared. I don't think I can do this. Or you let other people put you in a box and tell you who you are and what you can and can't do, which too often happens. Confidence is so critical to be able to embrace change. You have to be able to believe that this is possible. And then the third element is clarity, because it's a very complicated world. It's getting more complicated with technology and artificial intelligence, et cetera, et cetera. But Da Vinci, I think it was, once said that true elegance is in simplicity. And that if we can simplify things. Now think about this in the context of listening. Do we listen and our eyes roll back because, well, that was complicated? Or are we really, truly listening to understand the other person? So inbound simplicity, clarity, and then outbound, because you could have the best business plan in the world and no one can execute it if they can't understand it, if they can't articulate it. So those 3 things, change, confidence to do something about it, and clarity of communications, inbound and outbound, simplification, ultimately, those 3 things are the gift that I believe that I have that have propelled my career from the time I entered the business world until today. I'm still out there using those 3 things, jumping on change as an opportunity.
Yeah. And it's scary, isn't it? Like, it's scary.
No.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
But that's the point. It is scary, but you've got to defeat the fear, because you know why? You know when we learn the most is when we're scared out of our shorts. That's when we learn. We're way out of our comfort zone.
In my own business and personal life, and you can challenge me on this if it's good or bad, I've had this notion of change before I have to.
Yeah.
Because if if I see something's moving, it's like, one day I need to change on my own terms.
Yeah.
Then I'm not forced to.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything to that?
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. It's proactive change, not reactive.
Yeah. So maybe if someone's listening in their 50s and they know that this job might not be for the next 5 years, we need to start moving and changing now.
But you know why they won't?
Fear?
Fear of failure.
Yeah.
It's the biggest killer of careers, biggest killer of corporations, even societies. Fear of failure.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to be afraid of. And this is the point. I'm gonna quote a religious figure, Yoda.
Oh. Hey, huge following.
Hey, I've been doing this all over the world. I get away with it.
Yeah, that's right.
Everywhere from Kuwait to, to Miami to. I've been quoting Yoda because he said that ignorance leads to fear.
Yeah.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hatred, and hatred leads to violence, and it's a very negative circle, and it shows up in the boardroom. It shows up in society and wars, and it's curable because there are two elements that Yoda talks about. And I mean, we all know this, but we don't stop and think about it. Maybe take the lesson from Yoda, because Yoda said, ignorance leads to fear. Curable, knowledge. You must learn to be a Jedi, Luke.
Yeah.
You must have knowledge to be a Jedi. But what about those things that you can't know? That's what trips us up so often. It's like, well, I don't know. I can't get enough information about that. That's when, you remember what he said? May the force be with you. Force to me is a beautiful metaphor for faith of any kind.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in a greater universe that will conspire to help, if you don't believe in your God, depending on which religion you should pursue, if you are a religious person, then you have nothing to fall back on but fear.
Yeah.
And that's a very negative cycle.
Yeah.
So the combination of knowledge and faith, call it the force, is a double set of armor that literally gives humanity nothing to fear.
Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, said you can have faith or fear. Pick one. They can't be both present.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what I'm picking.
Yeah. I mean, I show two cycles. I show the negative cycle of fear and anger and hatred, and I show the positive cycle of knowledge leading to hope, leading to happiness and peace and joy and all that stuff. That's a heck of a lot better cycle to be in. And, I sat through a session just yesterday with a neuroscientist.
Yeah.
Dr. Haley North from here in Australia. And she was talking about neuroplasticity. And what that is, basically, she was saying our brain is 86 billion neurons in our brain, and they're all firing. And they're basically electrical impulses that are firing constantly. But we come prepackaged with a set of reactions that kept us from being eaten by a tiger, and triggers portions of our brain that cause us to fight or run away. Even though we don't have natural predators, even though we're adults now, that natural self-preservation thing kicks in.
Yeah.
And it craters careers because you've seen the behavior in the boardroom. Somebody's like, come on, I'll duke it out, asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, dude, sit down. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, we're just having a chat.
Yeah, but it happens because people just get really mad. This is because they're reverting to their caveman brain. They're reverting to the brain that they came out of the box with, and they haven't matured enough to be able to use their prefrontal cortex, not their amygdala, transfer that reactive brain into a proactive brain and say, wait, this isn't really a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to die from this. Let me try to understand where this person's coming from. Let's get to the bottom of this with knowledge. And at the end of the day, if I have to trust this person, maybe I go with that.
Yeah. Hey, in finishing, some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
The hardest part in the book to write? What was like, did you wrestle with it?
First 3 words.
Yeah.
Starting. No,
Okay.
It's always the hardest part of anything
Yep.
that you want to accomplish. But once I got started, it flowed. It flowed very easily.
The most rewarding part of this process? Yeah.
Being able to spread the word. And when I have someone come up to me, I just received a beautiful direct message on Instagram from a young man in England.
And we'll put your Instagram in the comments so people can follow.
Great. That'd be great. J. Keyes, author.
J. Keyes, author.
But I received a DM from a young man in England thanking me for spreading this message about the importance of learning and what I'm calling the meta skills: change, confidence, clarity, curiosity, creativity, all of this stuff. And, it's that kind of response that is worth more than money.
Yeah.
Because when you feel that you're helping other people achieve their full potential, I don't know what could be more rewarding than that.
What are you most excited about for your future?
I'm most excited about, first of all, I wake up every day thinking, in fact, my post for Monday was, may every single day be a new adventure. Because I wake up every day and believe that I can't wait to see what happens today. And it's true. I lead this blessed life, but a lot of it, it's because I reprogrammed my brain to be more grateful and positive about every day. And
so you've made an active choice.
Yeah. Well, the result is I get back what I give out.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited.
And final question.
Just for the adventures.
Yeah. It would not be a money podcast, a business podcast, a retirement podcast without asking you
What's my favorite car?
Yeah, what's your favorite car? I saw a red one on your Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Still have the red one?
We all have our vices.
Our vices, yeah.
Mine is fun vintage cars. So I've got a couple of Ferraris. My favorite of all time is a 550 Maranello Arctic.
Is that? What year?
Ferrari, it was it's 2000.
Oh, 2000, okay. I don't know Ferraris as much as I know other cars.
Yeah, it's amazing. 12-cylinder, no top.
Oh.
The sound is and a manual transmission, of course.
Yeah.
I can't have a car with a manual transmission.
So, cars aside, if you had one piece of money or investing advice that you would give to anyone at any age, what would that be?
Invest in yourself and your education.
Wow.
Think of the dividends it would pay for a lifetime.
I want to give a shout out. I got a text this morning, right? So I wrote a book 3 years ago. Because we've got 5 books that we've got out there, and the 5th one's on the way. And it was called Sort Your Career Out and Make Good Money. And I wrote it as the prequel to a Sort. Yeah. Yeah. And the premise is invest in yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best annuity you'll ever have. And you'll be happier, you'll make more money, all that. I got a message this morning. Glenny, I just finished Sort Your Career Out. Absolutely amazing. I'll be leaving great reviews. Thank you for writing such a great book. I've hit a career crossroads and it was finally time to crack it open. So valuable.
Isn't that better than money?
Yeah.
It truly gives you the satisfaction of being able to help others change. Look, we all want to make money. We all want to be successful. At the end of the day, it's about helping others, lifting others up as well, and that's what we've accomplished. So congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Jim, for popping on the podcast today. And grab it. We'll put a link in the show notes. Please read this book. You'll learn so much. Take one piece of advice and implement that, and you'll be further along than you were the day before.
Can I add one thing?
You can have two things.
Please don't put this book on the shelf.
Not like the career book and have it for 3 years and then pick it up.
No, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But give it away after you read it.
Yeah, okay. Or buy two.
Or buy two. Yeah, I really want this book to be something that you read and say, someone else could benefit from this, and give it away.
Yeah.
And then ask them.
Yeah.
I don't care if I never sell more than 1,000 books if those 1,000 books end up getting to 1 million.
Yeah. Love that.
That's the ultimate thing.
Well, you need to get upstairs to a book signing.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll put details in the show notes to follow Jim on Instagram, link to the books. Jim Keyes, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.